Have you ever just stopped and felt like you're playing a game, but you were never actually told the rules? That everything we're taught about money, about hard work, about success is maybe just part of a big illusion? We're all told, work hard, save your money, climb that ladder. But what if that whole ladder is leaning against the wrong wall?
Right. Let's just dive right into that. Just think about it for a second. What if the whole system, the one that kind of dictates how we make a living, is actually designed to keep most of us just treading water? What if the real secret to getting ahead has absolutely nothing to do with grinding it out for 12 hours a day?
And this idea is at the very heart of the material we're looking at today. It suggests there's some kind of fundamental truth that once you get it, it changes, well, everything. It's the difference between being a pawn, just getting moved around the board, and becoming the player who sees the entire game. So to unpack this, our source tells a story about a poor villager named Arjun. He felt this same disconnect, this feeling that something was off. So he goes looking for a mysterious sage, hoping to learn the ultimate secret to wealth. And the very first thing the sage does is just completely shatter his most basic belief about the world.
And that's the sage's opening argument. It's so simple, it's almost painfully obvious once you hear it out loud, isn't it? The people doing the most backbreaking physical labor are almost always the poorest. So, if hard work isn't the key, then what on earth have we all been missing? And this is where you can really see the two realities laid out, side by side. On the left, that's the story most of us are told. Wealth comes from physical work, so you better focus on how to save every penny. But on the right, that's the hidden truth. Real wealth comes from understanding the game, and that completely shifts your focus to how to create. It's a huge change, from a mindset of scarcity to one of real abundance, from working harder to working smarter.
Okay, so this brings us to the biggest revelation in this whole philosophy. To really understand the game, you have to first understand what the most important piece on the board actually is. And that piece, money, it's not what we think it is at all.
And there it is, the big secret. Money isn't a finite physical thing that you have to go out and chase and then hoard. It's an energy, an idea. It's like a current that flows through the world. And just like any other form of energy, it can be attracted and it can be channeled, but only if you understand its real nature. And this chart really just spells out the consequence of not getting that concept. The sage's teaching is basically saying that the 1% who have most of the wealth, they aren't necessarily working 100 times harder. They're just the ones who figured out that money is a game of energy. They don't chase it, they attract it.
So how do you actually do that? How do you attract this energy? Well, the sage breaks it down into 3 steps. First, it all starts in your head. You have to accept it mentally. You have to genuinely believe, deep down, that wealth is possible for you. No subconscious roadblocks. Then you have to actually create value. This energy flows where problems are getting solved. It could be a skill, a service, an invention, anything. And finally, you have to channel it correctly. Money can't just sit there. It has to flow, like a river. If you don't give it a purpose, a direction, it'll just flow somewhere else.
Okay, so if money is this invisible energy, what's the tool you use to attract it? What's the magnet? Well, according to this teaching, it's the most powerful thing you already have, your own mind. It's not about what's happening out there, it's all about what's happening in here. This piece of ancient wisdom from the Vedas is really the cornerstone of his whole idea. Yata drishti tata shrishti. It basically translates to, as the vision, so the creation. Or to put it really simply, the world you see on the outside is just a direct mirror of what you believe on the inside. If your mind is constantly seeing lack and struggle, that's what you get. If it sees opportunity and abundance, well, that becomes your reality. So the key thing here is that you have to actively reprogram your mind. And here's how you do it. First, you have to erase the fear of failure, of being judged, all of it. Then you have to break the false rules, those mental cages we all live in, like, I could never be rich. After that, you got to think big. Your reality will only expand to the size of your thoughts. And then, and this is so important, you have to feel rich now. You have to feel the emotions of abundance before it shows up. Your internal vibration has to match what you want to attract. And when you're in that state, that's when you take the right action. Action that's inspired, not forced out of desperation. So we've talked about the rules of the game, how to play it, how to win it. But then the sage's final lesson for Arjun just takes this whole thing to another level. He basically asks, once you know how to win, what's the point of playing it all?
And this is where things go from being practical to being truly profound. And here it is, the ultimate secret. The game of money? It's just one tiny part of a much, much bigger illusion, which in Eastern philosophy is called Maya. The idea is that our entire reality, our jobs, our identities, everything we think is so real, is actually a construct. It's a massive, complex game that's all being played inside of consciousness. So that forces you to ask a pretty heavy question, right? If life is a game, then who's the player? Are you actually making your own choices? Or are you just a character following a script that was written a long time ago? And that leads to the next obvious question. We spend our entire lives in this race to accumulate things, status, money, you name it. But if the richest person on earth can't take a single dime with them when they die, then what is the real purpose of the race? Does winning the game of money actually mean anything in the end? And this is the final, ultimate realization. The sage tells Arjun that the point of the game was never to rack up the most points. The true purpose of playing was to wake up to the fact that you are not the piece on the board. You are the consciousness that is watching the entire game unfold. The goal isn't winning, it's waking up. So we're left with this final, powerful choice. Now that you've been shown the rules, and you've been told the game itself might just be an illusion, what do you do? Do you use this knowledge to become a master of the game and win by its own rules? Or do you try to step off the board entirely and find out what lies beyond it? The choice, as always, is yours.